We must love ourselves. Black people are hated everywhere. You go to America, you go to Britain, you go to Europe, everywhere. When they see a black person, they see a reject. How can we be hated all over and still be hated at home, where we're supposed to love one another and struggle together and hold each other's hand and say to those who are suffering, we suffered like you. One day you will get your freedom. And when you get your freedom, we will rejoice together. Fighters, let us defend the unity of Africa. Kwame Nkrumah fought for this unity. Julius Nyerere fought for this unity. Gaddafi fought for this unity. Robert Sobukwe, Steve Biko, Winnie Mandela, Chris Hani fought for this unity. Robert Mugabe fought for this unity. Why must we be divided as Africans?
In the past couple of weeks, there have been a lot of things happening in the Nigerian economy that have been very disheartening, for lack of a better word. We've had to sit through a series of unfortunate events, as I will put it, that somehow break, the faith that we're trying to build and have in our country. From the weakening economy to seeing businesses that have been around for lots and lots of years being razed to the ground, essentially making a pathway for other companies from people of other nationalities to come and build businesses. It's giving a sense of neo-colonialism happening all over again. Now, with this channel, what I've always strived to do is to inspire people to a higher consciousness. It's not to make people worship ancient African idols, is not to try to convince people to go back to ancestral worship or any of those things. No, it's to inspire people to a higher consciousness. And what really is a higher consciousness? A higher consciousness is a sense of love, I think, unconditional love towards yourself, towards your fellow man. Now, when I talk about ancient Africa, I'm not trying to build an idealistic picture of a society. I'm not trying to romanticize ancient Africa and make it seem like it was a perfect world, because it was far from perfect. There were a lot of things in the ancient African society that were not ideal. And unfortunately, when the erasing of our history started, we were left with only the negative aspects of our history, and we were blinded to the positive aspects of our history. And what is that saying that says, know your history so you don't repeat it over and over again? This is one of the reasons why it's important for me to try to project the positive aspect of Africa and African history. But while I do that, I'm not going to take away the fact that Africans and ancient Africa had a major role to play in some of the unfortunate things that happened in our society, and those things are seemingly being replicated even up till now, when we see ourselves selling each other out in businesses, when we see entrepreneurs who treat their staff like it shit, for lack of a better word, people who don't pay their staff salaries, who treat their staff terribly because you have the opportunity of having people working for you, people who sell out their own fellow brothers and sisters for other people. It's the same thing. What is the difference between all of this happening now and slave trade? The only thing is that nobody's cracking a whip on your back. But who gave these people access to have their brothers? A lot of Africans don't like to settle on the fact that Africans participated a lot heavily in slave trade. Africans kidnapped their brothers and sold them, and it's a very painful reality. But I believe in the universal consciousness. I believe that there is only one mind in this universe, and I believe that what you do to one would also be done back to you. And in earnest, I believe that this is one of the major reasons why the African society is constantly struggling, because we have committed crimes against the universal principle. We have committed crimes against our own body, and until we come to that realization that we had a hand in what happened to us, we take responsibility for that, we hold ourselves accountable to such things, and we prevent it from happening in our future, then we know that we are ready for growth in our society. I try to stay away from like political talk and all of those things, because I'm still a baby girl for life. I don't want to kill myself, because I'm thinking of Africa, African drama, and all of that. While I do believe that it is important to know our history, I also believe that it is important to protect your mind, protect your peace, and not be inundated with negative information. Hence why I try to stay away from news and a lot of the negative news that happens in our society. If you want to know more about some of the things that have been happening in Nigeria in recent times, you can check out Wodemaya's video on the demolition of Landmark Beach in Lagos. And there's a host of other things. There's this other guy I really like, Jude Bella, that talks about Nigeria and some of the things that happen in Nigeria. I'll put the links to all of these videos in my description. So if you want to check them out, you can. It's important for us to take accountability. I think that's where I'm going with all of this. It's important for us to take accountability for our actions. And like the first video I played by Julius Malema that said Africans have to love ourselves, I believe that the universal principle is a principle of love. If we cannot love ourselves genuinely, I'm not talking about romantic love, I'm not talking about sexual love, I'm not talking about lustful love, I'm talking about a genuine unconditional love, that I want the good of you because I care for you and I want to see you do well, and I would not shortchange you because I want to make progress. I will not cut your own legs because I want to run faster than you. Until we can bring ourselves back to that place of genuine unconditional love in our society, it will be very, very difficult for us to make progress. I feel like we live presently in a very, very extremely loveless society, and it shows in almost every facet of our existence. And I just felt it's necessary to have this to say, to put this out there before I carried on with our topic of today, because I don't want it to seem like I'm oblivious to the things that are happening around me in my society. I'm absolutely aware, but I just try to focus on the positives, because I don't want to be discouraged. I don't want my fellow Nigerians who might be watching this to also be discouraged, because trust me, it can be very discouraging. You're trying to have faith in a country, you're trying to remember the good, the beauty, and all of the fantastic things about the country, but you're constantly inundated with the negative aspect of the country, and it's not a pleasant place to be in. So you can check out these videos, you can make your opinions for yourself. But in conclusion, I will just say that I believe that each and every single one of us has a responsibility to love our country. And it begins from number one, how you talk about your country, how you represent your country, what you do in your country. If you're still throwing trash out on the street when you drive, if you are still taking advantage of the people around you, if you are an employer and you are not paying your staff, you are treating them like trash because they are working for you, you are taking advantage of people, then you are perpetrating this stereotype. You are part of the problem. So each and every one of us have a responsibility to look at our lives personally. Are we representing that love that we speak of? And how can we become better? It is one thing to say, oh, I love my country. It is another thing for your actions to represent it in every little thing that you do, that indeed you love your country. Are you paying your taxes? Are you following due process? Are you doing what you're supposed to do? Are you ensuring that the integrity of this country is upheld within your own jurisdiction? I feel every single one of us as Africans have that responsibility. And we need to start to take it more seriously than we have, because it is the little drops that will make up the ocean. It's not one person that will just, it's not overnight that will wake up and suddenly everybody loves the country, suddenly everybody has faith in the country. No, it's the little drops that make up the ocean, and every single one of us have a role to play. So I hope within your own jurisdiction you find whatever role it is you can play in, inspiring love for your country more and more, and you do it as much as you can. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's get into the juice of the video. All right, so this is another beautiful episode of Wisdom Wednesday. We're going to be continuing from our last video where we talk about African gods and why they are important. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who has been subscribing to my channel. I am 900 subscribers strong. Woo! I'm so happy. Thank you, all of you guys, for being here. Thank you. You make me so happy. You have no idea. I want to hit my target of 1,000 subscribers before the end of May, and I absolutely believe that I can do it. I believe that with you guys, it is possible. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed so far. I really appreciate you being here. Everyone that has left me beautiful, inspiring, and encouraging comments. I can't do this without you guys. I love you guys so much, and I thank you for being here. This channel, Africa Living with Hadiza, is, like what I just said in my initial speech, is a channel that hopes to inspire love one for the other, and inspire love for ourselves, inspire love for our community, and inspire of us above all to a higher consciousness, a better way of seeing things, a better way of doing things as it concerns being African in today's world. So I want to thank you guys so much. I'm so excited for all the great content that is going to be coming. I see myself traveling to different African destinations, going to see the real history for what it is, and taking you guys with me. So I am excited for this community that I'm building, and I want to say thank you guys once again. Thank you. So in today's video, we're going to be talking more about African gods. The last one we did, we talked a little about why the representation of African gods are important, and we introduced the first god, which was Ishu. Now we are going to be talking more about the different African gods. Now, first of all, I wanted to say, in the ancient African society, there were a plethora of gods. There were so many gods from so many kingdoms and so many traditions. But for the purpose of this channel, this video, and this community, we're going to be focusing on the Orishas. The Orishas are from the Ifa tradition, which is from the Yoruba people of Western Africa. Now, why the Orishas? Why Ifa tradition? This is because this is one of the most popular African, I don't want to say religions, practices. Yeah, this is one of the this is the most popular ancient African spiritual practice that is still relevant today. A lot of people in West Africa, some parts of the Americas and the Caribbeans still practice these traditions even up till today. And not only is it the most popular, it is still gaining ground, even though I know that there are a lot of others, like there's the Ordinani in the Igbo land, and there are different ones in different parts of Nigeria and Africa. But for the purpose of this channel, this video, and this community, we're going to be focusing on the most popular of all of them, which is the Ifa tradition, which is surrounded around the Orishas and their relation to mankind. So class is in session, guys. Like I said earlier, the Yoruba religion can be marked as a capstone of African beliefs due to its wide acceptance. Of all the African religions, this one remains one of the few still on the rise. In present-day Nigeria, Yoruba mythology has evolved into a faith where its followers address the gods and goddesses in respect of the complex oral traditions passed down from generation to generation. The Yoruba people refer to this religion as Isheshe. The word itself can be broken down into two parts. Ishe meaning origin and Ishe refers to practice. Coming together, Isheshe literally means practicing our origin. As you can see, this is a beautiful way of honoring their roots, as most of these traditions and beliefs spring from their deep-rooted faith in the Orisha pantheon. Now, who or what exactly are Orishas? According to the teachings of these religion, the Orishas are spirits sent by the Supreme Creator Olodumare to assist humanity and to teach them to be successful on earth. Aye. Rooted in the native religion of the Yoruba people, most Orishas are said to have previously existed in Orun, which is the spirit world, and then become Irumole, spirits or divine beings incarnated as humans on earth. Irumole took upon a human identity and lived as ordinary humans in the physical world. But because they had their origin in the divine, they had great wisdom and power at the moment of their creation. An Orisha may be said to arise when a divine power to command and make things happen converges with a natural force, a deified ancestor, and an object that witnesses and supports that convergence and alignment. An Orisha, therefore, is a complex multidimensional unity linking people, objects, and powers. The pantheon of Orishas, traditionally followed by Yoruba people, is a sequence of divine spirits dispatched by the Supreme God, Olodumare. Though a specific number can be placed on the amount of Orishas that exist, there is an interesting notion that surrounds it. It is said that there are 400 plus 1 Orisha, where the 1 stands as an incomprehensible number that implies infinity. There isn't an exact number, but sometimes it goes up to 700, 900, or even 1,440 Orishas. As for the 400 plus 1 concept, the 1 is an incredibly sacred number that tells you that there are countless Orishas, but you will always be 1 count short if you try to comprehend it. So you may think about the total as often as you like, but there will always be 1 more Orisha to consider. In African mythology, the Yoruba people very well received the notion of an omnipotent sky god overlooking all things that live on earth. In fact, it takes the form of Olodumare, a celestial being that transcends the boundaries of space, time, gender, and dimension. Olodumare is also known as Olorun, which means the Almighty. Although his omnipotence strikes a profound sense of existential authority, the Yoruba people do not have a dedicated shrine or places of worship for him. Part of this is due to the belief that Olodumare is so deific, his mere distance from the human world makes him incredibly detached from their daily affairs. The Lord of the Heavens was not always this distant from the planet riddled with human beings. It is believed that at one point in time, Olodumare was very close to Earth. However, the constant needs of human beings for basic things from the sky, such as food, water, clothing, etc., seemed to frustrate him. So he began his journey away from the planet. Since his abode was in the skies, he separated them and himself from the earth, and hence controlled the world from a cosmic distance. It is here where he found the need to create the Orishas as emissaries of his power and will. The Orishas were each assigned with unique functions, ensuring total order within the planet of Earth. Now, who was Shango? In my opinion, I feel like Shango was that guy, that powerful guy that everybody wanted to be like him. Every woman wanted to love him. He's referred to as the most popular of all the Orishas. I feel in my mind that he just typifies that guy personality, the masculine guy, the buff guy, the handsome guy, the Adonis, the Thor, the one that everybody sees once he walks into the room. So who really was Shango? Perhaps the most popular of all the Orishas, Shango rules over lightning, thunder, fire, drums, and dance. He is a warrior Orisha with quick wit, quick temper, and is the epitome of virility. According to the myth, Shango took the form of the fourth Alafin, the supreme king of Oyo on earth for a time. He was married to Oba but had relations with Oya and Oshun. He was seen as extremely hot-blooded and a strong-willed Orisha that loved all the pleasures of the world, including dancing, drumming, women, song, and eating. He is very well known for using his tool, a double-headed axe. Now, who does this remind you of, guys? Who does this remind you of? Doesn't this remind you of Thor? Anyway, moving on. Shango has a special relationship with the Egungun or ancestors, and while alive on earth, he escaped Iku, which is death, by wearing the Egungun masquerade. He was one of the first to worship his ancestors outside the family compound. When Shango was in trouble, he always called upon his Egungun for support. When one sees the quickness with which lightning makes short work of a tree, or a fire rages throughout an area, one has witnessed the temper of Shango in action. Though he traded the table of Ifa to Orunmila in exchange for the gift of dance, his children have an innate ability for divination. Shango is quite the complex Orisha. He is the deity of political power and is portrayed as being unpredictable, self-serving, and rides fire like a horse, all the while being the giver of children, a source of medicine, and a giver of beauty to women. This dichotomy is a very common theme in Yoruba traditional religion. It is structured on balance between life and death, light and darkness, yin and yang. Though contrasting in nature, one cannot exist without the other, and such is the way of the world. For a hunter to provide for his family, he must kill a part of nature, and for a farmer to do the same, he must till the land. I find it quite remarkable that there was this much complexity in thought at such an early era. Our people perceived the universe through the lenses that were way more complex than we give them credit for. It is worthy to note that most of these traditions and religions date back hundreds of thousands of years ago. So it is fascinating to see that though Africans were seen as savage, there was a lot of complexity in their thought process and in their way of viewing the universe. Like I said in the beginning of this video, it would be irresponsible not to acknowledge that people performed a lot of heinous acts in the names of sacrifices to these gods, rituals, and all of these things. And oral history does poorly on two things: keeping accurate timelines and passing on complex concepts across generations. Some people don't even want to address these kind of topics at all, and the concept of traditional religion is seen as a taboo for a lot of Africans. But I honestly think there's a lot to learn. We should have written a lot more things down, but I guess that's in hindsight now. The best thing we can do is to start documenting today. While researching this particular Orisha, I came across a description of him which I felt was just so precious. He called him Obatala, the sweetest god from Africa. While many Orishas are imagined through physical manifestations such as lightning or rivers, some are just deeply connected to deep human affairs. Peace, honesty, and creativity are some of them. Draped in white, Obatala, the king of peace, is a merciful Orisha, dispatching purity. He is often noted as being the master behind shaping every child when they are within the womb. Obatala is the kindly father of all the Orishas and of all humanity. He is also the owner of all heads and the mind. Though it was Olorun who created the universe, it is Obatala who is the creator of the world and humanity. Obatala is the source of all that is pure, wise, peaceful, and compassionate. He has a warrior side though, through which he enforces justice in the world. Obatala is also considered to be the most powerful and the sweetest god of all the Orishas, much like the Christian Jesus. Obatala is a child of God. Olorun the Father permitted Obatala the child to descend from the heavens, create land over the waters, and template human bodies from mud and clay. Science is in the process of establishing that human life first sprouted in Africa. Nevertheless, the mythological credit of sculpting the human body is reserved for Obatala. Now the myth goes like this. In the beginning, the earth was water. Olodumare, the supreme being and the sky god, summoned Obatala, also known as Orishanla, charging him with the first act of creation, the making of land. Obatala descended to earth with a hen with 5 toes, a pigeon, and a calabash containing a piece of dry soil. He dropped the soil on the surface of the water, then freed the hen and the pigeon, who proceeded to scatter the soil. Obatala then returned to Olodumare to confirm that the earth had been created. Olodumare then sent a chameleon to inspect what Obatala had done. The chameleon reported that the earth creation was a success, that there was much land. Olodumare then sent Obatala to earth once more, this time to create man. Obatala went to earth with the materials of creation. He descended upon Ife, the wide landmass, and began to create man out of clay. As he did this work, he became very tired. On trying to rest, he came upon a receptacle filled with palm wine, and he drank and became very drunk. As he continued his work, he created the victims of his drunkenness, various afflicted people. Finally exhausted, he fell into a deep sleep. Some say that Eshu, the divine trickster, Orunmila's messenger, unhappy with Obatala's success as a creator, tempted Obatala with the palm wine. Olodumare saw that Obatala was not doing his work properly, so he sent Oduduwa to complete the task. Oduduwa descended upon Ife and found Obatala sleeping. He took the receptacle containing the means of creation away from him and peopled Ife with his own brand of humans and settled them under his powerful leadership. Obatala then awakened, discovered that he had been replaced, and began a lengthy struggle with Oduduwa. It is from here, though, that Obatala's compassion towards people with special needs began. Obatala's mercy is located in the god's self-awareness. When an individual suffers because of an existential defect, including organ or limb malfunction, genomic disorder, or hereditary flaw, Obatala is the most kind-hearted because he knows that he shares part of the blame. The Yoruba concept of compassion does not emanate from a perfect God towards imperfect and error-prone created beings, as is the case in most spiritual traditions. Obatala's mercy flows from the self-awareness of a powerful but negligent God towards frail but blameless created beings. In most spiritual traditions, God shows compassion because the human beings err. In Yoruba tradition, Obatala shows compassion because he himself has erred. This remarkable self-concept makes Obatala the fairest god of the universal pantheon. Obatala does not have a permanent gender. He is considered to be androgynous, and he is married to Yemoja, the goddess of the oceans and the godmother of all Orishas. Free of gender, however, Obatala could be male, female, or neither. This asexuality makes Obatala the god of all human beings without regard to gender. Obatala has no patience for gender fights that break out in human communities. Ogun is the god of iron, war, and labor. He is the owner of all technology, and because this technology shares in his nature, it is almost always used first for wars. No settlement can be complete without an armory. An armory provides the means to defend oneself from the dangers of the outside world. This defense was a top priority in a place like West Africa, and what better tool to carry it out than the trusty old iron? Being abundant in the region, iron was a vital resource. Hence, The material having a specific personality induced a sense of wonder and natural instinct among those who believed in its smithing magic. Ogun is the giver of iron in the Orisha pantheon. Alongside mastering the delivery of this world-building resource, Ogun is also dubbed the warrior god of war. Wielding weapons of fine craftsmanship, Ogun oversees mental work and conflicts that arise within the Yoruba people. However, he refuses to interfere in what individuals choose to do with the weapons he blesses the productions of. The destiny of these weapons is left in the hands of the humans who possess it. This is an ode to Ogun's double-edged sword, representing two sides of justice. Ogun is a very popular and feared god among the Yoruba pantheon of gods. He is known for his creativity alongside his destructive nature, which amounts to the misunderstood nature of his aura. Usually, humans would break the law of nature. Ogun thus stands as the guardian to execute the repercussion of such actions. For this, he is feared. Despite that, when called upon, Ogun comes to the plight of his followers, blessing and protecting them. In present times, Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka references Ogun as his patron, aside being his muse and inspiration, likewise his compatriots in literature. Wole Soyinka says, Ogun is a master craftsman, an artist, a farmer, a warrior, an essence of destruction and creativity, a recluse and a gregarious imbiber, a reluctant leader of men and deities. All these words clearly describe the nature and elements of the most revered Ogun and the frightening Maleficent, who is a true example of do not judge a book by its cover. I'm sure a lot of us have seen the movie Maleficent. Maleficent seems to have been a character crafted in resemblance to this Yoruba god, Ogun. The wrath and power of Ogun has thus been explored extensively in literature since it has habitually been the mirror of the society, therefore depicting, portraying, thus documenting series and stories of this supreme god that we watch or read, getting carried away by what seems like fiction but not understanding its foundation in reality and perhaps history. The myth and legend of Ogun's creation, the myth and legend of Ogun's origin began with his descent to earth, and through his connection with the element iron, he created a tool used to make a pathway for other gods. He is one of the most revered and feared due to his quick temper. Ogun is therefore a very misunderstood but highly revered god. As Elekba opens the road, it is Ogun that clears the road with his machete. He is recognized in the numbers 7 and his colors are green, black and red. And last but not least, Orunmila. Orunmila, the Orisha of knowledge, omniscience, and wisdom, is the embodiment of destiny. His purpose might not be material, but it is a psychological one reflected in many African myths. The concept of destiny is gazed upon in awe by all those who truly place their faith in it. Destiny is an important notion to believe in because it continually shapes the lifestyle of the individual who lives in its belief. Orunmila is the Orisha of wisdom and divination. Orunmila could be interpreted as Orun, the spiritual realm, and Mila knows who will be saved or healed. As such, Orunmila is the multidimensional spirit of destiny. Furthermore, Orunmila is the name of the prophet or messenger of the spiritual traditions of Ifa. There are several perspectives from which Orunmila could be understood. 1. As a pre-incarnated spirit who is second to Olodumare. 2. As a human who has incarnated several times in order to teach humanity the mysteries of creation and how cause and effect operate. And 3. As the presence of the Ifa tradition itself in its theology and practices. First, Orunmila is analogous to wisdom in chapter 8 of the book of Proverbs in the Hebrew, Tanakh, and Christian Bible. In other words, as Orunmila was present when Olodumare or Olorun brought creation into existence. In other words, as Ella, Orunmila was present when Olodumare or Olorun brought creation into existence. Thus, the mystery of exactly how this came to be is retained with Olodumare, but Orunmila was present as a witness to this process and therefore perceives and retains those mysteries within consciousness. Consequently, Orunmila knows how to remedy challenges that might arise within the lives of creatures, including humans, during their own journey in life. Also, this means that Orunmila knows which types of offerings are essential for retaining and or restoring balance within situations where such is needed. Secondly, Orunmila is the prophet or messenger of Olodumare and the spiritual tradition of Ifa or Isheshe. Like Moses of Judaism, he has been a human to bring enlightenment or illumination to the rest of humanity. Orunmila is more unique, however, according to traditions, in that he has incarnated several times for this purpose. He has been on earth over and over again in order to fully illuminate humanity and enlighten them to their reality. As a prophet, he is the revealer of the mysteries of the sacred 256 odus of parables, proverbs, and prescriptions accounted in them. He is often portrayed as a protagonist in these narratives, who is the exemplar of what Iwapele, which is good character, looks like, by properly consulting the oracle of the Odus and following their wisdom guidelines and recommendations. Therefore, he is the premier model of how to follow the theology and practices of Ifa. And thirdly, Orunmila is often associated as synonymous with Ifa itself. Babalawos and Iyalawos are essentially trained and initiated in the above mentioned mysteries, teachings, and rituals. In fact, the awo suffix in Babalawo signifies that they are a father or mother of the mysteries of this sacred gnosis. They are considered to be like descendants of the prophet Orunmila himself. Accordingly, they are priests and priestesses of the teachings and rituals contained within the 256 odus and auxiliary corpus of knowledge. His priests, the Babalawos or fathers of the secrets, must devote themselves entirely to the practice of divination and the accompanying arts. Through the table of Ifa, his priests unfold the secrets of the universe and the secrets of the unfolding of our lives. His colors are green and yellow, which reflect Orunmila's relationship with Osai, the secrets of the plant world, and with Oshun, who is his apetivi, with whom he has an extremely close relationship. Orunmila is wisdom and Oshun is knowledge. For wisdom without knowledge is useless, and one who has knowledge without wisdom is merely a danger to themselves and others. So this is as far as we can go in today's teaching. It will still remain a mystery to me how, as far as a traditional and spiritual system that started about 8,000 years ago, had such mighty principles, wisdom, and philosophy that we have not been able to or had the privilege of looking so deeply into. Our ancestors had a lot of wisdom, they had a lot of knowledge, and it is important for us to tap into the positive aspect that understood the ebb and flow of life, that understood the cause and effect of creation, and understood the complexity of humanity. When you look at these gods closely in their dualistic nature, the ones who are calm, the ones who are aggressive, I think it points to the different types of human beings that we encounter on an everyday basis, like Ishu the trickster, Shango the very confident, hot-headed player, Orunmila the wise one, Obatala the calm and gentle one, Ogun the master of crafts, and all of these different things. It points to the different aspects of human nature, and it also points to nature as a being. So I feel there is so much that can be learned from this divination system. Rather than us classifying them as demonic, it is important for us to look deeper into what we can learn from them. So this is as far as we can take in today's video. I want to say thank you, thank you so much to everyone who has watched to this part. You mean so much to me, and I really appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to leave a thumbs up for me. I really appreciate it, and it helps me a lot. Also, leave me a comment. Let me know the kind of history you want to hear about. Let me know the aspects of African culture you want to know about, and I will start doing my research. Please show some love to my other older videos on this this channel. You'll find a lot of good stuff. If you've not checked them out, I have lots of playlists with lots of other good stuff that you would possibly enjoy. And last but not least, please subscribe to my channel. I want to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of this month, May, and I know that with you it is possible. Thank you so much. And if you have not watched my last video on African gods, the link is going to be right here, and I will see you there. Click on it right now.